He says he's fine without you. He laughs, he acts distant, he pretends your absence means nothing. But the truth is, the more a man pretends not to care, the more his unconscious reveals the opposite. Jung taught that the soul never lies, it remembers, it longs, it pulls. And even the man who hides behind indifference cannot silence what is alive inside him. This is not about forcing him, not about tricks or manipulation. It's about understanding the secret psychology of desire, why absence intensifies attraction, and why silence speaks louder than words. When you stop chasing, when you stop proving, you awaken the very thing he cannot resist, the memory of how it felt to be alive in your presence. In this video, you'll discover why pretending not to care often hides the deepest longing, and how to become the woman he misses even when he swears he doesn't. The mask of indifference. A man may act as if nothing touches him. He laughs, he shrugs, he hides behind silence. On the surface, it looks like he is strong, detached, and immune. But what appears to be strength is often only a mask. The mask of indifference is a defense, not a truth. Why would someone pretend not to care? The answer lies deep in the psychology of the human mind. Jung explained that people wear masks, what he called personas, to protect themselves from what they do not want others to see. A man who acts cold may not be free of feeling. Instead, he is protecting his vulnerability. By pretending not to care, he avoids showing that he is touched, moved, or unsettled. This mask often appears after an emotional bond has been formed. The more intense the connection, the greater the need to cover it up once it threatens his sense of control. Indifference becomes a shield. It allows him to walk through life as if he is unaffected, when in reality, something much deeper is stirring inside. The paradox is that the harder he tries to appear detached, the more energy he invests in hiding what is true. Silence is not the absence of feeling. Silence is often the echo of what he does not want to admit. The mask is not a sign that there is nothing there, but that there is too much. Too much to face, too much to confess, too much to expose. For a woman, this mask can feel cruel. You see him act as if you never mattered. You see him carry on with a calm face while you struggle with questions. But when you look deeper, you notice the cracks. No mask is perfect. The body betrays what the mouth denies. The eyes shift, the tone hardens. The small pauses reveal more than words. The important thing to remember is that indifference is not a measure of your value. It is not proof that you are forgettable. It is a reflection of his own battle. The mask he wears is his way of trying to control what he cannot. And in this attempt, he shows that something is alive within him. Jung often pointed out that what a person hides is just as important as what they show. The shadow, the part of the self we try to keep unseen and always finds a way to speak. Indifference is often the voice of the shadow. It says, I feel something, but I cannot handle it. By pretending, he keeps his world safe, but he cannot erase what is inside. This is why many men act as if they do not care, even when they are deeply affected. It is easier to wear a mask than to confront desire, longing, or fear of loss. The mask creates distance, but that distance is only on the outside. Inside, the soul remembers. Inside, the pull continues. When you understand this, you stop taking the mask at face value. You realize that what you see is not the whole story. His indifference is not the end, but the cover of something that still moves within him. This realization shifts the power. You no longer feel invisible. You see that his silence is not emptiness, but a strategy, and strategies always reveal what they try to hide. The mask of indifference is fragile. It can be worn for weeks or months, but it cannot erase memory. It cannot erase energy. The unconscious works against it, pushing feelings back to the surface in dreams, in sudden thoughts, in unexpected waves of longing. What is denied in daylight often returns in the quiet of night. The truth is simple. A man who truly feels nothing has no need to prove it. He simply moves on. But the one who insists on pretending, who puts on the mask again and again, shows that something is there. And the more he covers it, the more it reveals itself in other ways. Understanding this frees you. You stop begging for signs. You stop doubting yourself. You see the mask for what it is, a cover, not a reality. And when you step back and hold your own energy, the mask begins to crack. He is left alone with what he tried to hide. And in that silence, he begins to feel what he swore was gone. How absence creates longing. Absence has a strange power. What disappears from sight often grows stronger in the mind. When someone is no longer near, the imagination begins to work. Moments replay, memories sharpen, and what felt ordinary suddenly becomes precious. This is the hidden psychology of longing. Distance does not always erase. It often amplifies. Jung described how the unconscious mind fills gaps with images and feelings. When a person is gone, the unconscious does not simply stay empty. It brings back traces, impressions, and emotions that cannot be ignored. The absence becomes a canvas, and the mind paints on it with memory. For a man, this means that when you are no longer present, he begins to notice what he once overlooked. The sound of your voice, the way you moved, the calm or spark you brought into his life, all of it resurfaces. In your presence, it may have blended into daily life. In your absence, it takes center stage. What was once background becomes vivid. This is why chasing rarely works. When you are always available, the imagination has no space to awaken, but when you step back, the mind has room to wander. Longing grows in silence. It grows in the spaces where words no longer reach. Absence also challenges the ego. On the surface, he may say he is fine, that life continues. But the ego hates losing what once fed it. Attention, care, the reflection of itself in your eyes, and these were comforts. When they vanish, the ego feels the gap. It tries to cover it with indifference, but the unconscious does not lie. It remembers and it demands. This is not about creating games. It is about understanding a law of human psychology. What is not present can become more powerful than what is constantly available. Desire thrives on contrast. Light is brightest in darkness. Love is felt most deeply when distance interrupts routine. When you step away, you allow him to confront his own feelings without distraction. In the quiet, he must face the truth. He notices the emptiness where your presence once was. He feels the difference between what he thought he needed and what he now realizes he misses. Jung often spoke of opposites as forces that shape the psyche. Absence and presence are such opposites. Presence comforts, but absence awakens. Presence nurtures, but absence reveals. Without absence, a man never truly knows the depth of his attachment. Without absence, longing never has a chance to grow. Think of it like breath. If you inhale and never exhale, there is no rhythm, no balance. In the same way, constant presence leaves no space for desire to breathe. Absence is the exhale. It clears the air, and when presence returns, it feels like the first deep breath after holding too long. This is why many men feel the strongest pull when they think something is slipping away. It is not that they did not care before. It is that absence made them realize what was real. The unconscious speaks louder when silence surrounds it. For you, understanding this changes everything. You no longer fear creating space. You no longer believe that stepping back will erase your bond. Instead, you see that space can be the very thing that deepens it. By not being there, you allow him to feel what he could not admit when you were always present. Absence creates longing because it mirrors loss. The human soul reacts strongly to losing what gave it meaning. Even when the ego denies it, the deeper self remembers. This is why the man who pretends not to care may suddenly feel restless when you are gone. The unconscious does not ask permission. It simply reminds. Absence also reveals value. What is always available can feel ordinary. What is removed becomes rare. Rarity makes the heart pay attention. It forces recognition, and recognition is the root of longing. In the end, absence is not emptiness. Absence is energy that shifts the balance. It makes the unseen visible. It transforms silence into memory, and memory into desire. When you understand this, you stop fearing distance. You see it as a quiet force working in your favor. Because absence, far from being the end, is often the beginning of longing. And longing is what makes him realize, you are not just someone he knew, you are someone he cannot forget. If you want to go deeper, the Jung method shows you the hidden patterns behind your relationships. The link is pinned in the first comment. The silent power of energy. Even when words stop, energy continues to speak. Two people may be apart. No messages sent, no calls made, yet something lingers. A presence that cannot be seen still moves between them. Jung often reminded us that relationships are not only about actions, but about invisible connections. Energy is the language the unconscious understands. When you share moments with someone, you leave an imprint. It is not erased by silence or time. It rests in the body, in memory, in the subtle vibrations of the soul. A man may try to act distant, may put on his mask of indifference, but the energy you once shared still flows beneath the surface. He cannot stop feeling it because energy does not vanish. It transforms, but it does not die. This silent power explains why someone begins to think of you without reason. A song plays, a scent drifts by, and suddenly his mind is full of you again. It seems random, but it is energy resurfacing. The unconscious holds it, waiting for moments to release it back into awareness. What the mind tries to suppress, the energy keeps alive. Unlike words, energy cannot lie. A man may say he does not care, may insist he has moved on, but the tension in his body, the flicker in his eyes, the sudden thought in the middle of the night, these are signs that energy is still active. It bypasses logic and speaks in ways he cannot control. This is why you must trust presence beyond the physical. Your value is not only in what you do or say, it is in the essence you carry. When you're no longer there, your essence is what he feels missing. It is not about beauty, status, or effort. It is about the energy that makes him feel something he cannot explain. Many women think they must prove their worth, constantly show care, or remind a man of their value. But the silent power of energy works differently. It does not need proof. It works in the background, invisible yet undeniable. The less you push, the more space energy has to move freely, and in that space he feels you more strongly. Jung described this as the pull of the unconscious. What lies hidden influences us more than what is seen. Energy belongs to this hidden realm. It does not follow rules of time or distance. That is why even after months, a thought can return with full force. Even after silence, the bond can feel alive. This is not magic. It is psychology. The mind holds emotional imprints, and these imprints carry energy. They shape thoughts, moods, even choices. A man may not understand why he thinks of you, why he feels restless, why indifference feels heavy. The reason is the silent power of energy working underneath his denial. For you, the lesson is clear. You do not have to fight for presence. You do not have to chase to be remembered. What truly matters is the energy you bring. When it is genuine, calm, and self-assured, it leaves a trace stronger than words. That trace lingers even when he pretends not to care. This is why standing in your own energy is so powerful. When you do not beg, when you do not run after him, you hold your ground. That stability amplifies the contrast. He feels the pull even more because you are not giving it away cheaply. The silent power becomes louder in absence. Energy is subtle, but it is also relentless. It reaches places words cannot. It enters dreams, slips into sudden memories, and appears when he least expects it. It does not ask permission. It simply flows. And once it is alive, it cannot be undone. In the end, the silent power of energy is what makes someone miss you when you are gone. Not the text you sent, not the effort you made, but the essence you carried. It is the unseen that becomes unforgettable. When you trust this, you stop fearing silence. You understand that presence is not only physical. The energy you shared speaks for you, and it speaks louder when you no longer chase. That is when he feels it most. That is when missing you becomes inevitable. Why chasing kills attraction? The natural rhythm of attraction works like a dance. There is a flow, a pull, a balance between giving and receiving. When this rhythm is respected, desire grows. When it is broken, desire fades. Chasing disrupts this rhythm. It takes what could be natural and makes it forced. And nothing kills attraction faster than pressure. When you chase a man, you send him a message without words. You say, "My value depends on your response." You place yourself in a position of need, and need weakens energy. Desire is not born from need. It is born from mystery, space, and choice. The more you run toward him, the more he feels the weight of your energy pushing against him. Instead of being drawn, he withdraws. Jung explained that the psyche resists control. The unconscious pushes back when it feels pressure. Chasing is a form of pressure. It tells him what to feel, what to choose, what to give. But true desire cannot be commanded. It must rise freely from within. When you chase, you suffocate that freedom, and in suffocating it, you suffocate attraction. Think about how the mind works with absence. As we saw, absence creates longing, but chasing erases absence. If you are always there, calling, texting, reminding, insisting, there is no space for longing to appear. You fill the gap before it can grow. The result is not closeness, but exhaustion. A man who feels chased does not feel free to choose. He feels cornered. And when choice disappears, attraction disappears with it. Because attraction is always about freedom. The moment you try to force it, it slips away. This is why so many women feel that the more they give, the less they receive. They believe that constant attention will prove their worth, but it often creates the opposite effect. It makes him take presence for granted. What is always available loses its power. What requires no effort becomes invisible. Chasing turns value into background noise. Energy plays a key role here. When you chase, your energy says, "I am incomplete without you." That vibration is heavy. It does not inspire longing. It creates resistance. But when you stand still, calm and rooted, your energy says, I am whole. That vibration attracts because it is free. People are drawn to freedom, not to desperation. Jung would call this the difference between conscious action and unconscious compulsion. When you are conscious, you allow space, you trust the process. When you are compulsive, you chase. Compulsion always drains energy. Consciousness always restores it. The paradox is that the less you try to pull, the more he feels pulled. Absence and stillness create the gap in which desire grows. Chasing closes that gap, leaving no room for desire to breathe. The harder you push, the farther it slips away. This does not mean indifference. It does not mean playing games or pretending not to care. It means allowing natural rhythm to work. It means trusting that your presence is enough, without the constant need to remind him. It means understanding that attraction is a flame that grows in oxygen, not in suffocation. When you stop chasing, you also reclaim your own dignity. You no longer live in reaction to his attention. You no longer measure your worth by his responses. Instead, you live in your own energy. And that energy is magnetic, because nothing attracts more than confidence without demand. Chasing kills attraction because it reverses polarity. It puts you in pursuit when attraction thrives on being pursued. It makes you the one who gives while he retreats. And the more you chase, the more the distance grows. But when you hold back, when you let silence speak, the polarity shifts. He feels the pull to move toward you. The truth is clear. Attraction is not kept alive by effort, but by balance. It grows in space, in mystery, and freedom. Chasing removes all three, and without them, desire dies. When you understand this, you no longer fear stepping back. You realize that silence is not loss, but power. You see that absence is not weakness, but strength. And you discover that what draws him most is not how hard you run toward him, but how deeply you stand in yourself. The unconscious pull he cannot resist. Attraction is not only about looks, words, or actions. Those are surface layers. Beneath them lies a deeper force, the unconscious. Jung described the unconscious as a vast field that guides us more than we realize. It is where forgotten memories, hidden desires, and unspoken emotions live. And it is here that the strongest pull between two people is created. A man may tell himself he has moved on. He may swear he feels nothing, act cold, and even believe his own mask. But the unconscious does not obey logic. It keeps alive what touched it deeply. It does not erase easily. The more he tries to suppress, the more the suppressed feeling grows in strength. Suppression feeds the pull, making it even harder to ignore. This pull works in subtle ways. It is the sudden thought of you in the middle of work. It is the dream that wakes him at night. It is the unease he feels when silence stretches too long. On the surface, he may look unaffected, but underneath, the unconscious keeps sending reminders. These reminders are not chosen. They appear. That is why they are powerful. Jung often said that what we resist persists. The man who resists thinking of you often ends up thinking of you more. The unconscious has no interest in his pride or his plans. It simply carries the truth of what has been felt. When energy between two people is strong, it cannot be undone by denial. It stays alive in the hidden layers of the psyche. This explains why he can miss you even when he pretends not to. Pretending is a conscious act. Missing is unconscious. One can be staged. The other cannot. He can put on a show of indifference, but the pull of longing rises when he least expects it. It comes from a place he does not control. The unconscious pull is not about obsession. It is about resonance. Something in you touched something in him. It could be your calm, your light, your mystery, or simply the way your presence made him feel alive. That impression lives on. It becomes part of his inner world, whether he admits it or not. This is why absence becomes so powerful. When you step back, you leave space for the unconscious to speak. Without your constant presence, he cannot silence the echo. The echo grows louder in stillness. He begins to feel the pull more strongly because nothing distracts him from it. The unconscious pull is also why chasing weakens attraction. If you try to force his awareness, you only push against his defenses. But when you allow space, his defenses relax and the unconscious rises naturally. He finds himself thinking of you without knowing why. He feels the pull and has no explanation. That is the power of what lies beneath reason. For you, understanding this changes your perspective. You no longer need to prove your worth. You no longer need to fight for recognition. You see that what truly matters is not on the surface. What makes him miss you is not what you do every day, but the deeper mark you leave in his inner world. That mark is invisible, but it is stronger than anything he can deny. Jung described the anima, the inner feminine image within every man. When a woman touches that image, the man feels something beyond choice. He feels resonance at the soul level. It is not about logic. It is not about circumstances. It is about recognition. Something in you mirrors something in him, and once awakened, this bond cannot be easily erased. This is the pull he cannot resist. He may delay it, cover it, or fight it, but eventually it surfaces. It returns in quiet moments, in lonely nights, in places where his mask falls. It is the force that makes him realize, even when he pretends not to care, he does. The unconscious is patient. It waits. It speaks in symbols, in dreams, in sudden waves of emotion. And when the moment comes, it breaks through. That is why you must trust it. You do not need to control it, only to understand it. By holding your own energy and allowing silence, you let the unconscious do its work. In the end, what pulls him back is not your effort, not your chase, not your words. It is the silent bond imprinted in his unconscious. And that is why he misses you. Because deep down, he cannot resist what his soul remembers. How mystery makes him remember you. The human mind is drawn to mystery. What is fully known fades into routine. What is not fully explained lingers in thought. This is why mystery is one of the strongest forces in attraction. It keeps a person curious, engaged, and restless. And when you step into mystery, you plant yourself deeply in his memory. Jung explained that the psyche thrives on symbols and the unknown. The unconscious is not fed by what is obvious. It is fed by what is hidden. Mystery speaks the language of the unconscious. It awakens imagination. And imagination is what makes someone replay your presence long after you are gone. When everything is revealed, the mind rests. It feels there is nothing left to discover. But when something remains unspoken, when a little space is left open, the mind continues to circle back. It tries to fill the gap. It replays moments, searching for meaning. This is why mystery creates such a lasting effect. For a man, this means that when you are not always explaining, not always proving, not always giving every detail, you remain vivid in his inner world. He cannot put you into a neat box. You become an open story, and the mind cannot resist an open story. It wants to know more. This does not mean playing games. It does not mean pretending to be someone you are not. True mystery comes from self-possession. When you do not rush to explain yourself, when you do not give every thought away, you radiate depth. He senses that there is more to you than he can see, and that sense keeps him remembering. Mystery is also linked to silence. Silence leaves space. It makes a man wonder what you are thinking, how you are feeling, where you are placing your attention. That wondering is the seed of memory. When you tell him everything, the seed dies. But when you let silence hold some answers, the seed grows. Jung described how the unconscious is activated by the unknown. It does not crave certainty. It craves meaning. When you embody mystery, you awaken this craving. He begins to seek you not because you chase him, but because his psyche is restless without clarity. This restlessness becomes memory, and memory becomes longing. Consider how desire works. It is not born from having everything at once. It is born from distance, from contrast, from the tension between known and unknown. Mystery provides this tension. It keeps the flame alive by never letting it fully burn out. Each unanswered question, each withheld word becomes fuel. This is why mystery makes him remember you even when he tries to move on. The conscious mind may want closure, but the unconscious clings to mystery. Closure ends the story. Mystery keeps it alive. He may pretend indifference, but inside, the open story of you keeps playing. For you, the lesson is powerful. You do not need to over-explain. You do not need to defend your worth with endless words. Your energy, your presence, your silence, and these already speak. By holding some of yourself back, you invite curiosity, and curiosity is the root of memory. Mystery also protects your dignity. When you do not hand over every detail, you keep your center intact. You remain whole within yourself. This wholeness is magnetic. It makes him sense that you are not desperate for approval. You are not chasing his understanding. You are living in your depth, and that depth is unforgettable. The truth is, mystery is not something you create. It is something you allow. It is the natural result of trusting yourself, of not rushing to fill every silence. It is the choice to let some things remain unseen, some words remain unsaid, and in that space, attraction grows. He will remember you not because you shouted the loudest, but because you left him wondering. He will miss you not because you begged, but because you gave him silence and depth. And in that silence, the unconscious keeps replaying your presence. Mystery is the echo that never fades. It lingers where certainty ends, And when you live in it, you become the woman he cannot forget. Becoming the woman he misses. Missing someone does not happen by accident. It is not just about the past moments shared. It is about the impression a person leaves behind. To become the woman he misses, you must understand what creates lasting presence in the human psyche. It is not effort, not constant reminders, but the energy you embody. A man remembers the woman who stands in her own value. When you know your worth, you radiate a calm strength. You do not need to chase, prove, or beg. This self-possession makes your presence distinct. He feels it when you are near, and he feels the gap when you are gone. Jung explained that the unconscious is drawn to wholeness. People are magnetized by those who carry balance within themselves. If you are centered, confident, and true to yourself, you awaken something he lacks. That awakening becomes unforgettable. Even in your absence, he feels the contrast between what you gave and what the world gives. To become the woman he misses, you must let go of fear. Fear pushes you to cling, to control, to demand proof of love. But fear does not inspire longing. It creates exhaustion. Courage, on the other hand, creates mystery and space. When you are not afraid to step back, you allow him to experience life without you. In that experience, he learns the difference. This does not mean withdrawing love or playing hard to get. It means trusting your essence. You know that your presence already has weight. You know that silence can speak louder than noise. You know that energy lingers long after words fade. By trusting this, you hold yourself with dignity. And dignity is magnetic. Another part of becoming the woman he misses is living fully. Many believe that waiting and pausing life will make them more attractive, but the opposite is true. When you keep growing, exploring, and enjoying your own journey, you shine. That shine cannot be ignored. He senses that you are not stuck in longing, but alive in your own world. This contrast makes him feel your absence even more. Jung often said that what is alive in one person awakens life in another. When you embody joy, depth, and strength, you leave an imprint. Even when he pretends not to care, he feels the lack of that imprint when you are gone. He notices the difference between ordinary interactions and the energy you carried. To become unforgettable, you must also honor your boundaries. When you say no to what diminishes you, you show self-respect. That respect sets you apart. A man may not say it aloud, but he remembers the woman who valued herself. She becomes the standard he measures others by. Her absence becomes louder because she stood in truth. There is also the power of emotional connection. Words may fade, but emotions remain. When you shared laughter, stillness, or comfort, those feelings left a trace. To become the woman he misses, you must stop trying to force those emotions and instead let them rest. Trust that what was real will echo back to him in quiet moments. Importantly, you do not need to change yourself into someone else. Becoming the woman he misses is not about playing a role. It is about revealing your true essence. The more authentic you are, the deeper the mark you leave. Pretending creates noise, but authenticity creates memory. When you hold your own center, live your life fully, honor your boundaries, and trust the silent power of energy, you naturally become unforgettable. You become the woman who cannot be erased even when he tries. The paradox is simple. When you no longer need him to miss you, that is when he does. Because longing cannot be forced. It grows in space, in silence, in truth. When you embody these qualities, you become the woman who lingers in his unconscious, the one he cannot resist remembering. To be missed is not about absence alone. It is about what you leave behind when you go. When your essence carries strength, depth, and authenticity, your absence becomes presence, and that presence lives in him long after words have faded, living beyond his choice. It is natural to want a man to choose you. It is natural to long for confirmation, to crave the moment when he admits what you already feel. But living only for his choice traps you. It makes your sense of worth dependent on something outside of you. True freedom begins when you realize you can live beyond his decision. Jung taught that the self is not completed by another person, but by the integration of your own inner world. When you wait for someone else to give you identity, you weaken your own soul. But when you step into your wholeness, you find that your energy no longer begs. It simply shines. And that shine draws others naturally without effort. A man's choice may matter, but it should never define you. If he chooses you, it is because he recognizes what is already alive within you. If he does not, your value remains unchanged. Living beyond his choice means you no longer measure yourself by his actions. You stand in your own presence, and that presence is enough. This shift is powerful. The moment you stop needing his approval is the moment you become unforgettable. He senses the difference. Instead of energy that pulls on him, he feels energy that radiates on its own. That kind of energy cannot be ignored. It awakens curiosity, respect, and longing. Living beyond his choice also means trusting timing. What is real does not disappear because someone denies it. The unconscious remembers. Even if he resists today, the pull remains. And when you are not chained to the outcome, you allow the process to unfold without desperation. You give space for truth to rise. This path also protects you. When you no longer depend on his validation, you are not shaken by his silence. You do not crumble when he pretends not to care. You know the mask of indifference is his struggle, not your worth. You know absence creates longing, but you do not wait idly. You live, you grow, you expand. Jung reminded us that transformation happens when we bring what is unconscious into awareness. Living beyond his choice is such a transformation. You become aware that your life is not paused until he decides. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are already chosen by yourself. That awareness shifts everything. From this place, attraction becomes stronger. Because a man misses the woman who does not need him. He longs for the woman who walks forward, who radiates mystery and depth, who cannot be defined by his hesitation. When you embody this, you stop being optional. You become essential. In the end, longing is not about what you demand, but about what you awaken. And nothing awakens more than freedom. When he sees you living beyond his choice, he feels the gap more sharply. He realizes that his mask does not protect him from truth. And the truth is that the woman who does not wait is the woman he cannot forget. Living beyond his choice is not indifference. It is strength. It is the ability to care without clinging, to love without losing yourself, to walk without fear. And when you embody that, you become more than a possibility in his mind. You become a force in his soul. At the end, the truth is simple. You are not defined by the man who chooses or refuses you. You are defined by the way you carry yourself, by the dignity that no silence can erase, by the energy that lingers long after words fade. When you step into that freedom, you no longer live waiting for his decision. You live as a whole woman, radiant in her own presence. And it is in that very moment when you no longer need him to choose that he feels the deepest longing for you, because he realizes you are the one he cannot replace and the one he cannot forget.